a lot of realities, and then you are willing to make the changes to come there. Because I was in touch with this, my friend Mr. Dinesh, who's a benchmarking guru of India. He's the one who got in through the TISCO, and he was trained under Rusi Modi during the, in the Jamshedpur steel period. And he has a fascinating story about how the whole process of benchmarking is based on the will to improve. And one of the greatest challenges is to convince organizations, management to change. So they have a whole concept of change management. Because normally the tendency is to go in for inertia, to be satisfied and happy with the current state and not want to change. So these are in terms of corporations, we are talking of benchmarking. But the same concept can also be applied individually. I have a certain state of experience currently. I have a certain paradigm going on in my life. I have a certain idea and philosophy of what is success for me, what is achievement for me. And it will be interesting for me to benchmark my expectations, my experiences, my philosophy with higher or better states of experience. People who actually have achieved much more than me in terms of their internal experience. So therefore Gita says, what is actual achievement? So someone may say, okay, conquering the different lands, being the CEO of a firm, becoming a multimillionaire. There is the story of Alexander. He conquered over so many countries, and when he was entering India, he was bitten by some mosquitoes, he got malaria. And he was begging the doctor, let me stay a few more years. The doctor said, it's not possible. So Alexander started negotiating with the doctor, and he said, I will give half my kingdom. Allow me extra 100 breaths. He said, not possible. So I'll give you 75% of my kingdom. Give me extra 50 breaths. He said, not possible. He said, I'll give you my entire kingdom. Give me just a few extra breaths. At least one extra breath. He said, not possible. So Alexander said, I wasted millions and millions of breaths to earn this entire kingdom. And in return for this entire kingdom, I cannot get back even one extra breath. So what is the point? So when you are taking my funeral journey, make sure that you keep my hands out open, outstretched with my palms fully open, out of the coffin, so that everyone can see that Alexander, he earned a lot of this land, but while going he couldn't take anything. Let everyone see that. So I always end with this point that what the biggest armies in the world could not do, Indian mosquitoes did. It was finished. So therefore, if you think, okay, getting land, getting properties, having some material achievements, this is what it is. But then the statistics reveal something amazing, that the more powerful you are and the more you become rich and famous, the incidence of stress increase, suicides increase. And practically speaking, Japan and America are heading the world in the number of suicides happening, especially in the ages between 18 to 30. Corporate stress is increasing. I was doing a program at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a few years ago. And I was going to make a PowerPoint presentation. Today also they were asking me, but I said, no, I'll better speak. And what happened was the LCD projectors, it didn't work. So the organizer came and whispered in my ear that, sorry sir, it's not working. Please depend on Krishna and speak. I said, thank you for giving my philosophy back. And I couldn't say much to him because the topic of my lecture was overcoming anger. And the first point I was going to make is, life will be filled with experiences where things will not go the way you expect. And there was like a whole live demo of that. So after the talk, one civil engineer professor came and met me, and she was a lady. She said, I'm very successful as a professor. I'm having so many PhD students publishing papers, conferences, this, that, everything is going great. But when things don't go the way I plan and I expect and I want it to happen, I become so angry. I just get so disturbed. Do you have any formula for this? And then I was taking a tour of the MIT campus, and I saw a big notice, which said, wanted people to help in the experiment for a sleeping pill. They were doing some, trial runs to come up with a sleeping pill. And they wanted someone to come and sleep at 9 p.m. and wake up at 6 a.m. And they would pay $7,500 per month for anyone who could volunteer. And amazingly, for many months, no one came. Because most people felt it is too early to sleep. 9 p.m. is too much. And then one boy from Mumbai who took a education loan landed up there. He saw the poster. He jumped in ecstasy. And he said, "You pay me $2,000-3,000 extra, I'll sleep more." So if you consider these facts, that one of the largest investments is going in the pharma industry for antidepressants and sleeping pills. So is this a state of a society which is experiencing internal joy, satisfaction and happiness? So what is the whole idea of happiness we are talking about? What is the purpose of all this infrastructure, all the gigantic works, technology, progress, the GDP, so many things are being talked about. Ultimately, where does it lead to? It is something which people are questioning at a larger level, but at this, localized level, if we think about it, then we'll see that we are all hankering for happiness. And to achieve that state of happiness would be the greatest achievement. And Gita explains, how do you know you have reached that state? Because someone here may be thinking that I'm already happy. The way I am, I'm happy. So okay, if someone has money, he'll say, I have money. Even someone has, $1 in the pocket, he will say, I have money. So how do you know what is the state which we are talking about? So therefore, considering this concept of benchmarking, Krishna is showing us the topmost state, which is achievable. And then it is left to the individual whether he wants to come to that state. But at least you have to appreciate that there is that highest state of happiness. And that is considered to be the greatest achievement in the human form of life. And that state of achievement is characterized by two symptoms. Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate na adhikam tata. The first symptom is there will be no hankering once you have that achievement. That achievement means there is no hankering. This is the greatest achievement, to reach a state where there is no internal hankering. And the second symptom is yasmin statona dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Even the greatest calamity cannot make you lament. No lamentation. So if we internally analyze and introspect and see that am I free from hankering and am I free from lamenting? So before that, someone may think such a state is impossible. What you are talking about? What is there in life beyond this then? If there is no hankering, how will I move on? How will things move? How will things progress? So that's the fascinating description of the Bhagavad Gita, of how you can actually step by step come to that state of happiness. No hankering and no lamentations. So you see that in our everyday lives, that people earn so much, achieve so many things, but still the hankering continues. Always people are trying to compare with each other. And that takes away so much of life's happy experiences. Like, in Mumbai, there is this hotel president, 5-star hotel. And it is so popular, but only if you have a lot of money you can go and spend there. One roti or chapati will cost you 120 rupees. One bowl of dal will cost you 150, 200 rupees. Seeing the rates, your stomach will be full. You will want to spend like that. So, one small-time vendor set up one stall outside this, hotel, selling some kind of bread and other things, vada pav, bel puri, like that. And he called this stall Hotel Vice President. And his sales pitch was, if you can't afford the president, come to the vice president. There was a long line of guys waiting. Okay, they feel okay. We are also somewhere connected, closely connected. So there is this great need that we feel, okay, how am I doing in connection with someone else? So we are always comparing, and this comparison takes away the joy of living with gratitude for what the Lord has given us. So each one of us has a unique capacity to do things. Each one of us has a unique way of expressing, things. But the hankering forces us to compare. And then when we compare, then we start lamenting. Why this is happening? Why this is happening? Why that is happening? Like that. Like, for example, I give this story in my youth classes, that there was this man who was training people in public speaking. Okay, so many people have this, that I don't have these skills, I don't have this, I don't have that. So then they attend all these training seminars to get trained in that. So then he was sitting, he was giving a seminar, and he was saying, the power of a public speech depends on how you begin. And then he said, I'll give you an example. The best years of my life were spent in the arms of a woman who was not my wife. And people were aghast. What is he saying? This is scandalous. And he said, that was my mother. And everyone clapped and said, wow, this is a good way to begin. You catch attention. So one guy was attending that lecture, and he went to his village and called the whole village and said, I have become a public speaker. I have attended seminar. I will show you how to speak. So everyone came to hear what the hell is going to say. So he stood up, and when he saw the crowd, he became nervous. Because he had never spoken before. But still he mustered courage, stood up with the mic in hand, and he said, the best years of my life were spent in the arms of a woman who was not my wife. And then because of nervousness, he forgot the next line. Just trying to remember, recollect. It is, when you see someone speaking, you may think, okay, it's simple. But when you actually start doing, then you realize it's not so easy. So then after some time he said, and I can't remember who she was. So, many times we have been given certain opportunities, we have been given certain skills, but because of technology, because of media, what media is actually doing is, it is creating desires beyond our capacity to fulfill them. That's one of the biggest disadvantages of internet. One of the biggest disadvantages of worldwide television, networking, magazines, information exchange, is that you instantly keep hearing about all the glorious things of people with very powerful karma. And then the hankering comes within the heart. I should also do something. Okay, so that's great if you get inspired, but we should know that all of us will have certain limitations in our ability to fulfill those desires. So therefore, rather than focusing on where I should invest my energy so that I can come to this state which is free from hankering and lamentation, we take the wrong exit and start proceeding towards that path where our hankering and lamentation will go on increasing. All of you know, on the freeways, if you take the wrong exit, where do you end up? So therefore, we have to be extremely careful to re-evaluate with the GPS of our life whether we are reaching the right destination or not. So therefore I say that modern education system is giving you the accelerator. It is giving you the capacity to move fast. It is increasing your speed. And spiritual knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita, is giving you the steering wheel and the ability to actually know where is your destination. So we are providing you two things, the GPS and the steering wheel. And the education system is giving you the gear and the accelerator. If both combine, then things can move on in the right direction. Right? Otherwise, if I say that I want to give you a Mercedes Benz, what's your name?
Mahesh.
Mahesh, okay. Would you like to have a Mercedes Benz?
Sure, from you.
But if it's without a steering wheel, so he says that if I give him, then he will take. He's confident I don't have any Mercedes with or without a steering wheel. So if you get a car with no steering wheel, which way will you go? So therefore, it's very important to have a combination of both. So I give seminar called The Clock and the Compass. Let's not be obsessed only with speed. Let's also try to figure out the direction, which way we are going. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is giving us the direction. And in fact, if you see in Gita, there is Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Many yoga processes are given. Different paths are given. Right? So you have to choose the path accordingly. So unless you understand that all these philosophies are meant for some purpose. So you have Eastern philosophy, you have Western philosophy, you have Vedic philosophy, you have, Dante, Socrates, so many Western philosophers. So if you summarize or take a look at all the philosophers and all the philosophies all over the world, and you want to understand what this philosophy is all about, it all boils down to 5 points. Any philosophy, if you want to understand, you can just make a matrix of these 5 points. All the other things will be details. But whether it is Vedanta, or it is talking about Advaita, or Buddhism, or this or that, any philosophy you take, it only comes within this range of 5. What are these 5? First is, what is my origin? Where am I? The second point is, what is my destination? Third is, what is going to be my experience on reaching that destination? Fourth is, what is the path I have to take to reach the destination? And fifth is, what are the obstacles which I am going to face on the path to reach the destination? These are the 5 principles of any philosophy. And it all speaks of the destination which we are looking for in life. So therefore people say life is a journey. If you say life is a journey, the first thing you do when you sit in your car and you start the engine, the first thing you do is set your GPS. And we say that we are going on in our journey in life. So the first question I will ask is, in your journey in life, what is your destination? Oh, no, no destiny. Life is going on. How is life? Life is going on. If you call up to your friend and say, what are you doing? Driving. Where to? No, just driving. But where? Wherever the car takes me. So that would be foolishness. So therefore, Gita is establishing that various destinations are possible depending on which path you want to take. So the art of happiness is to attain a state where we are free from any hankering and any lamentation. And I heard that this shloka is very famous here in Seattle, in San Jose. Prasade sarva dukkhana hani rasyopajayati prasanna chetasa hyashu buddhir paryavatishtati. Our Sundaram Prabhu was telling me that this shloka is chanted along with the prasadam prayer every day. Sarva dukkhanam hani rasyopajayati. When we experience that state of satisfaction, that satisfaction ultimately destroys all the experiences of misery. Because we cannot stop the rains from falling from the sky, we cannot stop the snow from falling, but we have the power and the free will to protect ourselves from those attacks. Therefore, misery is compulsory, but suffering is optional. We have no control over calamities which will hit us, but we have control over how we allow those calamities to affect us. And therefore, only when we achieve a state where we are beyond all of this hankering and lamentation, we can experience complete protection and joy. So naturally the question arises, how do we attain that state? How do we come to that state? To attain that state, we have to realize our original position, what the soul is. So the soul is originally a spiritual entity, part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. And therefore, the process of connecting the soul with the super soul, that is technically called yoga. And I heard that this word is very popular in America, yoga. Yoga means to connect. We connect with the super soul. We connect with the Supreme Spirit. And in Bhagavad Gita, that Supreme Lord is described as being all attractive. And he is known as Krishna. So the process which I am personally following in trying to connect is known as Bhakti Yoga. And the club you are running here is called Bhakti Yoga Club. So as part of that, as I said, that there are 5 aspects of any philosophy. So if you follow Shankaracharya, he will say that your current status is that you are in ignorance. That's your beginning point. Your final destination is you will become God. Okay? What is the obstacle? Is that forgetfulness that you are God. And what is the process? You have to follow Jnana Marga. If you follow the Buddhist philosophy, they will say, okay, you are here. The final destination is you will become nirvana or void. And you have to go through these whole steps. So every philosopher will explain these 5 steps according to their particular philosophy. If you are a Muslim, then they will have a certain idea that there is a heavenly state where you will enjoy. That is the experience on destination. So everyone has these 5 principles laid out. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains in the 15th chapter, Narupamasyeha tathopalabhyate nanto chanadirna cha sampratishtham ashvattamenam suvirudhamulam asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. So Krishna says that we can attain a state after death in a spiritual world, and that spiritual world is beyond this material world, and we can only attain that after cutting through the attachments of hankering and lamentation in this material world. So what is the process of attaining that state? He is saying, Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama Dvandvair sukha dukkha sangair gacchantya mudha padam avyayam tat. Said we have to follow the process of humility, overcome the desires. We have to be fixed up in spiritual processes, become free from lusty desires. We have to become free from duality, tolerate happiness and distress. And by doing that, gacchantya mudha padam avyayam tat, then we can attain that state. So therefore, that is possible in the association of devotees, like-minded people. So when we come together and try to practice the process of yoga, bhakti yoga, and that begins with the process of chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So happiness basically is a state where through the chanting of the mantra, man means mantra, which frees the mind from ignorance and the hankering and lamentation. So this hankering and lamentation is like a disease of the mind. And we need to free the mind from this disease. We need to take a medicine. That medicine is this mantra. And the more consistently, regularly, sincerely we take this medicine, the more the mind will be free from the unhealthy state, sick state, and achieve the healthy state. That is the whole process of achieving the state of happiness. So disease-free body is called healthy, and disease-free mind is called happy. So the art of happiness is how to make the mind disease-free. Just like the art of health is how to make the body disease-free. And what is the disease? This hankering and lamentation is the disease. As long as this hankering and lamentation is there, one will always be restless, in anxiety, stress, depressed. So many different terms, adjectives are used to explain the state of hankering and lamentation. So therefore, psychiatrists deal with it, give some medicines to subdue the symptoms of the disease. But the Bhagavad Gita deals with the sound vibration which goes deep into the mind and purges the mind of this disease. It has a pathological effect, not a symptomatic effect. It completely purifies the mind. Somebody was talking to me and he was saying, you are being introduced as being from IIT, you are an engineer by profession. Now you are traveling here in America wearing strange clothes, having strange hairstyle, giving lecture on Gita. So who are you actually? What are you? Are you an engineer? Doctor? What are you? I said, I am a Vedic psychiatrist. He said, oh wow, that's good. We need them. So basically what is psychiatry? It is the science of dealing with the mind. And people have not too much of idea how to deal with the problems of the mind. So therefore, when we follow the process of the chanting, the mantra chanting, so this mantra chanting actually purifies the mind by connecting us with the Supreme Lord. And we actually experience the transformation. We have to experience that transformation. So it is not something that you say, if somebody has a bad cough and is coughing like anything, and he goes to the doctor that, please help me doctor. And doctor says, just think that cough is not there. Just think that you are not coughing. When you are coughing, just think that this is a stage which will pass. That's not why he has gone to the doctor. Right? So if we say, I am feeling angry, I am feeling depressed, I am feeling envious, is it possible to transcend these states? it is possible by sincerely chanting this mantra in a scientific way, we can cross over these mountains of internal enemies and we can experience a state where we transcend them. And then when we look back and see, yes, I was also going through these states of infection. And sometimes when the infection runs for many months or many years, some people have chronic states, chronic backache, chronic headache, chronic migraine. They think I can never get over it. So we are all chronic cases of chronic lust, calm, growth, low, chronic condition. And we may think, impossible. This will always remain. This is my constitutional position. We may think like that. So therefore, there is no shortage of philosophy in this world. The libraries are filled with books. The internet is filled with information. There is no shortage of information and philosophy. There is a shortage of the will to apply. There is a shortage of determination to apply and experience that transformation. So therefore, people are not going to be impressed with what we speak, but with what we are. And hence, the art of happiness is an opportunity for us to experience happiness within and actually go through this process. And for that, we have to be willing to follow the process with tolerance for a sustained period of time. Because even if you are a Stanford graduate, it is not that as soon as you enter Stanford, then people are waiting with a garland to give you a degree. You have to go through your 4 years of lot of struggle and everything, right? I used to go to Seattle. Our Sundaranand Prabhu and Govind Sharan Prabhu are here. They would organize program at the Seattle office. They had something called Vedic Society or something there. So I was walking through the campus. I just saw Indians everywhere, in Microsoft. And I was asking somebody, why so many Indians? They said, the Americans, they grow up in such nice facilities. Many times they have lost the ability to deal with problems in a very patient way. Because everything works very smoothly in society. Whereas the Indians grew up in India, where a lot of problems exist. So they can deal with problems with more tolerance. Like you may have the best air conditioner, but there is power cut. What you will do? You have all the faucets and everything, but no water comes out. Sometime in India you go, you open the tap, only sound comes. I was traveling in a train and I saw one guy, right in front of me, the fan was not working. And there was one devotee from America with me. And he was observing what's going to happen now, fan is not working. So there were two guys sitting in front. One guy took out his comb. He looked at me because I don't have a comb. By default. So he understood he has to take the responsibility. He took out the comb and started moving. His friend went and did switch on and off. And the fan started working. This devotee took out his camera. And this is awesome. I had to take a picture of this. What is this? I said, this is traditional Indian technology. Not documented anywhere. So things keep, happening all over the place. Things won't happen the way you expect. So when you see a lot of chaotic situations, it increases your tolerance. And being a volunteer in ISKCON for the last 17 years, I have worked with a lot of people from different backgrounds. Although I am from IIT, I have worked with laborers, I have worked with uneducated people, I have worked in the kitchen, I organize cooking for 5,000 people. So we have lots of workers working, I'm running a restaurant, so we have cooks and helpers and cleaners from different backgrounds. As he was mentioning about the Eco Village, so we just set up this whole construction in the last 1 year. So lots of workers, contractors, labor from different backgrounds. One thing is there, if hankering and lamentation is not there, things in this world will not move. when I was going through this project, I was realizing that because there is hankering, so people are working, we are able to pay and get the thing done. If everyone become Atmaram, all my plans are on paper. Somebody has to lift the bricks, somebody has to break the stones, and they will just say, they will all sit with bead bag in hand and Hare Krishna. You know, they will keep meditating on the bricks. So I realized the glory of hankering and lamentation also. But Krishna is speaking about a state where you do things but not inspired by material hankering but by spiritual hankering. That you want to work as hard or even more inspired by the hankering of love for Krishna. Just like a mother. Mother is taking care of the child. Nobody is paying the mother. You know, if the mother start crying at night, the child starts crying at night, mother get up. She will not say, now my duty is over, 9 p.m. Now it is your duty, you take care. No, you have to do, then you have to pay me overtime. This kind of negotiation don't happen in a mother and child relationship. Right? But if the boss in the company says, hey, you have to work the weekend, okay, overtime. Right? We have to pay overtime. If even in a kitchen I'm employing somebody, I'm making work on a festival extra 2 hours, he will ask overtime. OT, without OT nothing works. So that means when you have something spiritual, which is based on love, that is the highest. So I saw through a cross section of these people an interesting comparison between highly intellectual educated people, successful people, and those who are coming from not so educated but simple backgrounds. And I saw that the ability to cope with failures is greater amongst those who are coming from very poor and simple backgrounds. And the ability to cope with failure is very less amongst those who are coming from very highly successful educated backgrounds. Especially very highly intellectual, academically successful people, they are so much used to just solving paper or problem. Solve problem on paper, get the result, get good marks for that, get appreciation, and they are stamped successful based on ability to solve a problem on paper using the intelligence. And they keep going through this exercise for decade after decade. So subtly they start thinking, I can solve any problem in life because I am a good problem solver. They start thinking like that. But real life problems are totally different from the paper and pen problems. So real life problems suddenly throw up so many surprises. There is death, there is a relationship issue, there is a disease. These are things which is beyond our capacity. So when people who are used to very highly successful academic backgrounds have negotiated a lot of these kind of problems successfully in terms of their career, they actually face real life situation where someone's son dies or someone's wife or husband becomes terminally ill and they face death, disease. They get bewildered. They can't handle it. They can't take it. Or someone gets sacked from a job. One HR person was talking to me. He's the president of HR of one company. And when the Lehman Brothers happened, so he was the president HR of one of the biggest companies in India. So the proprietors, the owners, they told this guy, sack 15,000 people in a week. So he got totally depressed by hearing that. 15,000. He said, how can I do that? What will happen? So he said, I was dealing with all these IITians, MBAs, this, that. And these guys told him that first you remove those with high salary. Because we can't afford. So he just convinced them that without notice, if I just sack them, then we have to pay them 3 months salary, this, that. This will be the total bill for the company. Better than that, you give me 3 months, 4 months time. I will gradually give them notice and everything and move them on. so that there is no emotional backlash. We will lose branding in the market. We will also lose a big paycheck. And we will lose such heavy goodwill that in future you tell me, get urgently 5,000 people. Nobody will come and join. So he said, okay. Take your 3-4 months, but make sure these 15,000 are gone. So next 4 months he set up a recruitment cell in their office only. And networked with all the HR people of all different departments all across Asia. Placed 15,000 people with a better salary everywhere. Moved them on. And none of them knew that they were on the sacking list. And then ultimately, he actually got that done. But he was saying that when people just face the pink slip and you are sacked, so it just creates such a big trauma because they just can't deal with the failure. So therefore, there are various things which we can deal with, but the most important thing is we are all looking to attain a state which is free from hankering and lamentation, which is a disease. And Krishna says, Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tata yasmins tato na dukkhena guru napi vichalyate. So Vedic culture is more or less based on the principle of tolerance. And therefore, we have to be tolerant in our path, even while trying to achieve this state which is free from hankering and lamentation. So the art of happiness in summary is to attain a state where your mind is free from disease. And the disease is hankering and lamentation. So if we can reach a state in the mind which is free from hankering and lamentation, we can experience happiness. And the way to do that is to actually take the medicine of the mantra on a regular basis, check it out. And the way to actually take the mantra is when we are regularly in the association of those who are similarly inclined, we will have the inspiration to connect to this process. And you are very fortunate that here in Silicon Valley you have an ISKCON center here. The president here and GBC is Vaisheshika Prabhu, and we have senior practitioners like Akurnath Prabhu, spent many years, many decades practicing this Bhakti Yoga process very successfully. And I think that moving forward, all of you have great opportunities to actually do your internal benchmarking regarding what experience you are going through currently, what states of the mind you can possibly achieve in terms of what Krishna is explaining in the Bhagavad Gita, a state which is free from hankering and lamentation. And having attained that, manyate na adhikam tata, one feels there is nothing more to be achieved. The highest achievement, the state of unbounded joy and bliss within. Thank you very much. I would invite Akurnath Prabhu to also share a few words.
Actually, I'd like just to invite those of you in the audience to ask some questions to Prabhu. So we usually have a question and answer period. I just wanted to say that I thought it was a wonderful talk.
You want to share something from your experiences?
From my experiences, I would say I have not reached that state from which Guru Napi Vichalyate, no distress can actually shake me from my determination, and that young labdva chaparam labhang manyate nadikang tata, that upon gaining this, that you think that there's nothing greater to be gained. But I've had glimpses, by the grace of my spiritual master, I've had glimpses of that state. When I chant my Hare Krishna meditation, japa, in the mornings, I feel very happy, and it's very distinct and clear. It's not just some airy-fairy, imaginative. It's something that everyone can experience, and it's a kind of happiness that you can't get anywhere else. And it is a kind of happiness, Guru Napi Vichalyate, it's a kind of happiness that makes external distresses seem very insignificant. I remember one morning I had been out distributing my spiritual master's books all day, very hard, it's also this kind of meditation, it's a japa lifestyle. You can experience that if you do well, like the day before, then the next morning your japa will become, your mind won't be distracting you from your meditation. In this chanting these mantras, you can actually observe your mental activities, how you are different from the mind. The mind wants to do something else, but you're remembering to concentrate and chant on the mantra, and when you're doing it right, you become so happy and peaceful. And so I was working very hard distributing the books the day before, and so I was noticing how happy I was the next day, but I was feeling that my body was very sore and painful from the work I had done the day before, running up and down stairs and everywhere. But I was feeling like, isn't this wonderful that even though I'm feeling pain, it's not disturbing to me because it's just in my body, it's not me, you know. And our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he said that when you attend the morning program of chanting and worshiping the deities and hearing discussion with other devotees of the Srimad Bhagavatam about the qualities of all-attractive Lord, and that is like putting on your shoes in the morning. You can, if you do that, then when things come to bother you during the daytime, I practice law here in Silicon Valley, and litigation, and you know, you're sitting at a deposition and the attorneys are snarling at each other, and you know, my client has the right to, you know, but it's just an act. All of the attorneys know that they're acting in order to carry out this drama of properly advocating their clients' positions and rights. But if you have a good, strong morning program, you have that core, that center, that peacefulness that you experience, so that the tossing and turning and of the stressful things that happen, you know, even you know, so many different kinds of stress we can think of. It doesn't really disturb you because, you know, that's not me, that's external, that's temporary, it's something transient. It passes. Sometimes there's happiness, sometimes Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, just like the winter comes, then the summer comes, then the winter comes again. These things are arising from the contact of our senses with their objects. And it will sometimes be happy, sometimes be sad. It's just a cycle. And that to actually achieve success in spiritual life, you have to become tolerant, as Gauranga was saying. You have to become tolerant of that and realize that chasing after the happiness and trying to avoid the distress will not bring you that success, but to find something deeper, something that which is eternal, that which doesn't change, just like the soul in the body never changes. That's the platform of real reality. So I would say that I haven't achieved that state of samadhi that Krishna is talking about, but by the grace of my Guru, I've seen some glimpses of it. So I like to say sometimes that even though I've been a disciple of Srila Prabhupada for 35 years, over 35 years, that I'm still really a beginner, you know. And when I say that, some people say, well, you know, how can you be a beginner after 35? But it's like anything. You can play a guitar for 35 years or a violin for 35 years and still not be the maestro that performs in Carnegie Hall, because it's a matter of how much you apply yourself, how seriously you take it, how seriously you've applied it in your life. And I can't claim that I'm you know, a very successful practitioner, but I sincerely, deeply feel that everything valuable and successful in my life, that what I really feel, you know, that I have to be thankful for and to consider myself having been successful, comes from my having accepted this path when I was a teenager. And it's not, you can go as deep as you want, and it just gets better and better. And what's holding me back? Just ignorance or laziness, or you know, like people that don't do benchmarking right and they say we're not going to change. That's holding me back. But I know that I am making gradual progress, and all of us really can make this progress in our life. Because as much as we want to take up, and it's a simple process, just chanting Hare Krishna. So please, if you have any questions for Gauranga, we usually have a question and answer period, and I want to hear answers from Gauranga for all your questions. And we can pass the microphone around. I have one,
Namaste, Gauranga Prabhu. Namaste, Gauranga Prabhu. Thank you for the great talk. I really like the example that you gave towards the end about the president of the HR who had to fire 15,000 people. I think that's a very classic example of Dharma Sankat as is defined in the Gita and many other places where there's a conflict of personal interest and professional interest. So I just want to know, like, what are some of the tools that you use in your life, and like, what are some of the tools that you teach other people? Like, you know, when you have Dharma Sankat, when you have a conflict between professional and personal interest, what are some of the tools that you can use to overcome that and make the right decisions in this situation?
Thank you. What's your name?
My name is Pallav.
Thanks, Pallav, for that good question. Just a prologue to that story is that when this person was in this Dharma Sankat, you know, he's one of the best HR